We went to a rated horse show on Wednesday, and by Friday, we were in quarantine. A horse in our barn at HITS Culpeper tested positive for equine herpesvirus, or EHV1, and ultimately developed the disease form of that virus, equine herpesvirus myeloencephalopathy, EHM. And just like that, our show was over, and we were left scrambling to find a quarantine barn, medicine for our horses, and 2 weeks of anxiously hoping our horses would be okay. As a non-horsey mom, I had no idea what any of this meant, and I am so appreciative that I was surrounded by people who did. I'm walking you through all of it today, what happened, what we learned, and what I would love to have seen done differently. Welcome to Broke Horse Moms, the podcast that helps non-horsey horse moms navigate the confusing, expensive, and all-consuming world of equestrian life. I'm your host, Angie Trueblood, and like you, I did not grow up in the horse world. But once my daughter fell in love with riding, I found myself Googling, what is a lead change? Why are riding pants called breeches? And how much does it cost to lease a horse? This show is here to make the horse world more understandable, more accessible, and a lot less lonely for the moms figuring it out as we go. So today's episode is going to be a little different than normal. If you follow Broke Horse Moms on Instagram or Facebook, or if you know me IRL, then you probably saw that we had a very eventful week at a horse show the week of April 15th. Chloe was competing at HITS Culpeper, which is one of the shows she needed to qualify for pony finals, and we went with 2 other riders from our barn, their moms, and our trainer. I'm not going to rehash everything I just told you in the intro, but I will say this, the situation escalated very quickly, and there was a lot that I didn't understand in the moment. And heads up, if you are listening and thinking, wait, this can actually happen, that is exactly why I created Broke Horse Moms. If you're new here, make sure to hit follow or subscribe on the platform where you're listening, because every other week I talk about all the parts of the horse world that no one explains to us until we are in the middle of it. I'm also going to send out everything that we're doing during quarantine. God, I hope you never have to experience, but sharing what we had to scramble to buy, what our daily routine-ish looks like, and what I wish I had known going into it. So if you want that and to get our every other week newsletter, you can get that at brokehorsemoms.com/newsletter. So as I'm recording this, we are still in quarantine. Ours is going to last between 14 and 21 days, depending on what our vet ultimately recommends. So it's still really raw. It's pretty time consuming. It's been a little expensive. And honestly, it's pretty anxious just waiting and hoping that our horses stay healthy. It's a mix of emotions because a horse did get very sick and ultimately was euthanized after developing EHM. So the reality of what if, what could be, or what could have been feels very real right now. So earlier last week, I was texting my friend Ashley about our normal once-a-month catch-up call, which just happened to be scheduled for the next day. And I thought she would actually be the perfect person to help walk me through this with you. Ashley is a horse girl through and through. And bonus, she works for the Equine Network. She is the podcast operations director for the Horse Radio Network, and she hosts the American Quarter Horse show. So basically, she's perfect. Not only is she a horse girl and a friend, but she also knows how to pull out of me the story that would actually be helpful and interesting for you to hear. Ashley, thank you for doing this with me today, friend.
Oh, Angie, it's sadly my pleasure. I was looking forward to our normal catch up, but when you asked to talk about this, it's important. And I'm actually really interested to hear all the details because I haven't been through an experience like this personally.
Well, you are the lucky one. I love that you were open to doing it on the fly because I think that's going to be the best way to share my experience with listeners is basically having you walk me through the questions that you have, maybe how it all unfolded when we were at HITS, And then there have definitely been some topics I've been mulling over after. We can touch on some of them if we have time. I can follow them up in a different episode. Before we dig in, I just want to let listeners know that anything Ashley and I talk about today is my perspective of my actual experience as a horse mom going through something that I never even imagined going through. I'm not speaking for anyone at the show, our trainer, or even other moms and riders that were there, just what it looked like and felt like from my perspective at Barn 5. So,
Well, let's start first why you and your daughter were there, because I know she has had some really big competitions lately.
mhm.
So tell me about what was bringing us to Culpeper.
Yeah. So Chloe has a goal this year of going to compete in pony jumper finals in Lexington, Kentucky. And that's in August. And in order to compete there, you have to qualify. And so that includes competing in two different rated shows and completing a total of 4 classes, whether
Mhm.
that's 2 at one show, 2 at the other, 3 at one at the other. So Culpeper was counting as one of our qualifying shows.
Mhm.
And Culpeper is close to us. Like we're right outside Richmond, so it's like an hour and a half. And we went there last year to sort of test it out. So we went there with Chloe and our pony, and then 2 other members of our barn.
Okay. And so we get there on a Thursday or Friday, I'm guessing.
We got there on Wednesday to get
Wednesday.
settled.
Yep. Unload,
Yep.
get into the competition zone.
Uh huh. The funny thing is at Culpeper, there's 5 different barns. And when we went before, we were more in an interior barn.
Mm.
And they put us in barn 5 on an outside stall that overlooks this really grassy area. You're not overlooking another barn. And the whole time we were like, this is such a good place to be. Like we could spread out. We were so happy to
Yeah.
be in barn 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was Wednesday. Okay.
Thursday was normal.
Okay. So we
Mhm.
schooled or did we get to compete?
Thursday, we competed. The girls all did great. Chloe
Good.
had phenomenal runs. Horses were happy and relaxed. We went back. We had an Airbnb while we were there.
Fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. So we were making dinners at home, and it was just, we were all commenting how we felt like a little family, and it was a perfect group of folks there.
Oh, I love that. So
Yeah.
then the horse in question
Mhm.
presented symptoms.
Friday morning.
Okay. I'm assuming like when people are there to feed breakfast or something like that.
Yeah, it was several stalls down. So that horse was on our side of the barn. I think there was either 4 or 5 stalls in between that horse and where our stall started. So it was close. I didn't go for the early morning because Chloe didn't ride until later. Me and another mom were going to get there at like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
But one of the moms that did go and the trainer saw the horse in question, not knowing what was going to happen. But he was out of the stall and they were having to kind of push his hind
Mhm.
end to
Mhm.
get him back to the stall. And then I think after that happened, I don't know if he went down in the stall, but I know a vet came and they had IV bags and such that they were administering in the stall. And then they eventually transported him. I knew nothing of any of this the entire day.
Entire all day Friday.
No, I mean, I guess they saw it and the trainer saw it.
But I guess if they don't know what they're treating,
Right.
okay. Concerning.
Yeah, we didn't get notified of anything the whole day. Like we showed as normal. Our 3 horses went out, did their competition. We were back at the barn, I would say like 3:45 p.m. And I was the one that was kind of like, aren't we done here? Like, can we head home and
Yeah.
like get dinner? We're exhausted. We have to come back for night check. We had some Prosecco at the
As
barn.
one
And
does. I mean, it's a horse show. As
I
far as I'm
mean,
concerned, that's mandatory.
right. And I remember our trainer was like, I would love a glass of Prosecco. And so I literally went into like the little cooler there and I was holding the Prosecco in a cup for her. And an official looking man came over and sat down. And I heard him say something like, I need to talk to you. And in my mind, I was like, oh shit, am I
Oh,
not supposed to have Prosecco?
you're like reverting to 15-year-old
Right.
self. Oh no, I'm in trouble.
So I like turned and put it back in the cooler.
Oh, if only,
Right? I
if
wish
only.
that's what was happening.
So this guy, who was he? Do you know who he was affiliated with?
So he was affiliated with HITS
Okay.
and he talked to our trainer, Luann. We're all like listening as much as we could because it looked like it was serious. And then I did hear him say EHV, or I heard him say enough to where I knew, like, oh, hell, because I had been aware of the virus, from last year at the
Right.
rodeo. There was a
Right.
pretty large outbreak. And so I heard that and start like panicking internally. And I heard him say at 4:05, there's going to be a trainer meeting for this barn up in the cafe. And then from there, I think he went on to other folks.
To just rally the troops.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went to the meeting and we ended up, we definitely came back for night check that
Sure.
night. The only signage
Mhm.
that I noticed was not a sign. There were just standards in front of some of the stall doors.
Mhm.
And I had a contact who had ponies coming in, I think just for the weekend
Mhm.
with a trainer. The woman wasn't coming, but I messaged her just to let her know. And she wasn't sure if that person had been notified. Like, that's where I'm unclear as to sort of what's the communication plan when something like this happens.
Because this isn't the first time something like this has happened. So
No.
you would think that there is a protocol and procedure, SOP, something
Yeah.
somewhere.
I think about our kids' school, right?
Yeah.
And it's exactly like, God help us, but like school shootings. And now there are very specific procedures in place, both proactively and what to do when something happens.
Right.
And that's where, as I like get further away from this, I'm like, I feel like that's what's missing, like some sort of digital alert.
Mhm.
I do know that Chloe, I'm getting ahead of myself, but it is what it is. Chloe got an email today. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. And she got an email today from HITS.
Explaining what happened or
Yeah. It wasn't like the announcement of what happened,
Mm.
but it had some language in there about, an update. No additional cases have been found, but there were no previous emails. I just wonder how the communication rolled out to everyone that was there. Like, was it just, hey, we've got a meeting happening, come on? And I think that's where a lot of the miscommunication has happened because there's a lot of differing opinions and thoughts and recollections online.
Oh, just like anytime anything happens in the horse world, everybody comes out from the depths. And just in preparation for our conversation, I was scrolling the forums, I'm on Chronicle, I'm on Facebook, and I'm seeing all different things across the board.
What did you see?
I even saw where one person said that the horse in question had other issues and that there often are false positives on EHV tests. And I'm just like, first, does that even matter? Shouldn't we
Right.
care about the welfare and well-being of these horses? Period.
Also, he was euthanized.
That's somebody's horse,
I think that's the hard part too, is when I was preparing for us to talk, there just wasn't a lot of focus on that, which I understand because we were all so panicked about our own horses. But I don't know who owned it. I don't know who wrote it, but I think like, God, what if it was our Phoebe and it was Chloe, what if it was 16-year-old kid's horse? Not that it's
Devastating.
better or worse.
No, but I understand what you're saying. Someone is incredibly devastated after this.
Mhm. So we had that conversation. Then we went to the meeting.
Mhm.
Luann was like, yeah, y'all come with me. So like the three moms.
Which I love. I love
Thank
that
you.
transparency. I love that.
Yeah. She's been so amazingly transparent. Like sometimes I would pull her aside, for different things and say, like, how worried should I be? And she was always really honest. So we had this meeting and it was with, I think it was everyone in all of Barn 5, but it was fairly small for that. So I don't know.
Maybe it's just who they could get, like you said.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Okay, really quick before we keep going. If you are listening to this and realizing you didn't even know this was a thing, you are not alone. This was me about a week ago. If you haven't already, make sure you're following the podcast because this is exactly the kind of stuff we talk about here. So, whatever podcast player that you're listening to this on, you can hit follow or subscribe. And then when our next episode comes out, it will magically appear in your podcast player. I'm also pulling together everything we're doing during quarantine, like what we had to scramble to buy, what we're doing on the daily, and what I kind of wish we would have known before going into this. So if you want to keep up with that and all things Broke Horse Moms, definitely go over to brokehorsemoms.com/newsletter and sign up for it. All right, back to it. That meeting was run by the state vet. So that is who kind of took over at that point. The state vet mandated a 2-week quarantine for those of us that were in the half of the barn where this horse was. So not the entire barn 5, but our half of barn 5. And it was a really interesting meeting because you can just see everyone's heads like spinning and thinking of all the things they need to do. And there was one guy in there particular, one of his questions, he's like, well, we're carnies, and we leave this show and we go to the next show. So what's to say, a horse that was exposed here that might not be in this barn doesn't go to the next show and then spread it. So there was just a lot of questions. And then the logistics pieces of like, how separate should they be from one another? And she said a 14-day quarantine, and it took me back to COVID, like
Yeah.
with the kids. I'm like, well, when is the quarantine up? Like, what is day 0? What is day 1?
Important questions.
Right. I was like, oh, I had a good question in this horse world that I don't always feel like I know much. But at that point, we were all scurrying to find a quarantine barn because we don't have a second barn on property.
Well, yeah, and nobody's going to very well bring their horses back and further expose.
Right.
And then to find another barn who does fit the quarantine protocols.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm about to like share my age, but in my head, I'm like, were you just like flipping through the yellow pages and calling every barn? Like, I don't know.
I called our old trainer who we bought Phoebe from and we're still very close with. And she had a next door neighbor who used to have donkeys, and he had like a pen, like a large area, but, still a space that we could go to and use. My cousin, she was reaching out to her contacts because she rides. And then, so Luann's barn is on a huge cow farm, like she leases space. And she had called the owner, and they have an old feed barn, like acres and acres back off the main barn. And he said, we can use it. And then Luann's husband gathered everyone back at home. We took down the fences of one of our fields. They took those to that back barn. And it's like this really amazing space that we never, like the horses have these really big stalls, so that they have space to move around. Cause we were thinking, well, shit, they're going to be on stall rest because this virus, you want to keep them stress free.
Right.
And we're like, well, in a stall is stressful if it's really small. And what they were able to pull together is insane.
As you guys were hauling out, did they give you any kind of, you need to use bleach, you need to, spray everything with hydrogen peroxide? I'm not a scientist, whatever you're supposed to do to clean the stalls you're leaving, maybe clean the trailer they're going in or out of. Did you have any guidance in that?
Most of our guidance came from our home vet. Luann was on the phone with her as soon as that dude left.
Yeah, good.
And I definitely got her the Prosecco.
Yeah, no kidding.
Have all of it. So our vet called in immediately the antiviral for our guys. So they're on that for, I think it's like 14 or 16 days total. No, there were not like handouts of you need to do this. We definitely like looked up resources and figured out what we could do. And we went and bought supplies. Like we knew we would need bleach and stuff like that. we didn't really sanitize our trailer because all three were getting in it, So we were like, that will happen at home before it gets the
Totally.
trailer is still sitting at the quarantine barn because we haven't done everything.
Yeah.
So our vet online resources were kind of what we were using to guide the logistics of sanitizing. I Googled this too. When you're quarantining, you should be at least 30 feet away from other horses, which
Yes, I saw
seems,
that too.
yeah. And our guys, I think they're a little bit closer to one another
But
than
if they're
30.
equally
Yeah.
exposed, I mean, and you
Yeah.
can
They were
only
in the
do the
trailer.
best you can,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
And it's open air, it's a free flowing space. So
Yep.
that's nice.
I know in reading for this episode, I kept thinking about measles because of the 30-foot differences and the droplets that stay in the air. And
Mhm.
it really, I mean, not symptomatically, but
Right.
it's just so scary.
And we went as soon as we found out, after that one meeting, we were like, okay, we need to go get thermometers, and at these shows, there's these mobile tech stores. They were all sold out because once people knew, they went.
It was like toilet paper for COVID.
Total. Yes. Yes. It felt just like COVID. And so that was Friday at 4 p.m. The barn wasn't going to be ready. I mean, they couldn't get the barn ready overnight. You know what I mean? So the next morning, everyone met at our home barn, I don't know, 8:30, 9. And by 10 o'clock, we got the call, start heading home. It's ready for you guys.
Wow.
And then we had to drive past our barn to get to it. And that was I just remember during COVID at our county, they did a teacher parade once they announced school was done. And all the parents were sobbing.
Yeah.
And so there were a couple of girls in the ring riding. And when it's the big trailer and 3 mom cars after, they were on their horses in the corner and they started waving.
Oh.
And I had all the riders with me and we were all just sobbing like idiots. But I think it was out of gratitude.
Because it could have been so much worse.
Mhm.
It could, I mean, as of today, as we said, April 22nd, there's been no more cases confirmed. So let's hope that that stays true.
Yep.
Jeez, oh, Pete. I mean, how did your daughter react to all this? Because, and I know this is not your kid, but there is a kind of kid very much in the vein of Veruca Salt, if you know what I'm saying, on Willy Wonka,
Mhm.
who I could see just pitching a fit. Well, what about my points? And what about qualifying? And did you see any of that kind of response
From our kiddos?
or
Mm-mm.
anybody else there?
No, and
Good.
it was interesting because we went to that meeting, and then when we came back, the 3 girls, and there's one 14-year-old and 2 basically 16-year-olds, super tight, super close. They were just walking around, and they texted one of us, and they were like, "We're walking around, we're just clearing our heads." And I'm like, I love them together. And they're all horse girls, so they're in it for their horse too.
They
They're very
understand the
100%.
why is more important than the points.
Yeah. After that first barn meeting, they had another one at the top of the next hour for everyone. And they attended it with Luann while we were out getting supplies because they had questions. And we were
Yeah.
like, well, go. I want you to be involved in this. There was one person in the meeting that I attended who did have questions about points. But I also kind of get that depending on what level they're competing at.
Sure. At the end of the day, a big part of horse sports is money.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
I was like, God, what are we doing in this sport to where if you have to take 2 weeks off of competing, maybe 4 to get your horse back fit again, if that's going to tank a whole season or your income, to me, that just gives pause of, are we doing this the right way or the wrong way?
Mm-hmm. Totally valid.
But yeah, there wasn't any of that really with the girls. I mean, of course, on the way home, they were looking at their points because they stopped competing Friday. All of them had classes on Saturday that we scratched. And then they were all doing the classic on Sunday, which we scratched. So on the way home, they were all looking at the classes for Saturday. But Chloe's Saturday class originally had 24 people signed up and only 8 competed. So a lot of people were leaving proactively.
I understand both sides of the coin here. I know it sucks, but
Yeah.
I am so glad to hear that a majority of people are doing what's right, and that's putting the horse first.
Yeah. 100%.
Because in our sport, only bad news makes headlines, and there's been plenty of that about our sport and people not doing right by the horse. And so it is, while it's a terrible thing, especially for the one horse who passed, really it warms my heart to know that a majority of people really care about doing the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in our world who I've reached out to or who've reached out to me were shocked that the show continued to go on, and again, I see both sides of it because, HITS isn't in Culpeper. It's not a huge venue. They even cut down their show series. Like last year, I think they had 12 shows. So I think 6 rated and 6 were under VHSA. And this year they're only doing the 6 rated. And that's all I could think was like, God, this is going to kick their asses.
So Chloe got in one qualifying ride. Is that correct? She got
No.
3.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
Uh-huh. She did 2 rounds on Thursday, 1 round on Friday. Crazy enough, she ended up champion, and I know.
I know this is audio format, but I just
I
my jaw dropped.
Like, she did really well those days, but we were thinking, "Well, goodness, like, missing a whole class."
Wow.
Yeah.
So is there an opportunity for her to make a 4th qualifier?
Yeah, so the original plan,
Yeah.
pre this, was that we would do and my goal was to get my goal because I asked her what her goal was, and it was more about, like, riding and competing. I'm like, "If we can get 3 qualifying classes in at this one show, then I feel like it dials back the pressure for the
Totally.
next show, and then you could try a higher class." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so we're supposed to go to Keswick at Virginia Horse Center in mid-May, but that's only gonna be like a week and a half or 2 weeks after quarantine.
Mm.
So I don't wanna put the pony through a whole week of competition.
After she's been in the stall for
Yeah. So we're all gonna talk about it, like and the other 2 were gonna go with us too. It was gonna be the same group going again. And so even before we left, I was like, "Let's just take a little time, let's get through this, and then we can navigate it." But my gut is leaning towards if we need to, like, we could just juke up there in a 2-horse, pop her in the ring for 1 class, and then come back home. Like, we don't need to do the whole kit and
the whole
caboodle if
shebang,
it's not
yeah.
necessary. Yeah.
And the horses now, they're good?
Yeah, I mean, Phoebe has the stall closest to, like, the most cows that are
Oh,
interested
goodness.
in them. So, I sent video to my mother-in-law. There's one of her and this cow, like, kissing, and there's one of the cow licking her salt block, and my mother
She's sharing.
she is, and my mother she's a quarter horse, so my friend's like, "Oh, she's back to her roots."
Yeah, she's getting her cowiness on.
Yeah. My mother-in-law is like, "Is that safe for her to be around those cows?" And I finally told her, I was like, "I can't have this discussion, like, I'm anxious enough about the twice-a-day temperature
Too
checks."
soon. Too soon.
Like, I feel confident if it was dangerous, Luann would be the first one to raise a flag.
Yeah, so she's getting some desensitization training.
Yeah, yeah,
Love
yeah.
that.
I think we would have hand grazed them. I think the state vet initially said we could have done stuff earlier, and our vet is just a little more like, "Let's get them a little further along."
Yeah.
But I think we'll be able to hand graze them soon, and if any of the kids are ballsy enough to ride them with cows surrounding them, I mean,
Hey, sounds like a good time to any teenage girl, not me. That sounds like it
yeah,
hurts, but as a teenager, that sounds great.
yeah. So they're good. Like, their dosing schedule initially was once every 8 hours. That was for 2
Oh
days.
my.
And then now they're on every 12 hours. And so they'll get their temperature in the morning, in the evening, which is like bringing me back to mothering a newborn, where you think
Mhm.
like everything is awful and,
Yeah, and you're just surviving.
yeah. So,
Man.
but yeah, I mean, I feel like we're as good as we can be doing and we're doing everything we can,
Mhm.
but it was just something I never expected.
So, to wrap up this emotional, scary, hopefully once in a lifetime experience for
Thank
you
you.
and Chloe and Phoebe and everybody. What do you think is something that can be done moving forward at any competition or public horse gathering
Mhm.
in a safety perspective? Like, how can
Yeah.
we proactively be ready when shit goes off the rails like this?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot of why I started Broke Horse Moms is to help bridge the gap between the people in this space who have history and knowledge and those of us who are new to it, right? It's always been for me a challenge of communication and having systems in place to help us know what we should be doing and what we could be doing. I know over the past years, we've gotten more involved in USEF competitions and looking at pony finals. There's definitely been investments that they are making in horse safety and horse welfare. From my perspective, what I see, and again, this could be a communication gap, but to me, it looks like there's a lot of focus on what drugs are allowed in competition and what drugs aren't allowed in competition. And while, yes, I want the horses to be well taken care of and not overworked and not, injured in the performance of the sport, I see what happened at HITS Culpeper as such an obvious horse welfare event that I wonder, are we putting enough time, energy, and money into supporting these types of shows when stuff like this goes down? Is there a crisis management plan? Is there a protocol, not just for when a horse tests positive, but would it have been helpful when we came in to have been cognizant of, I mean, we weren't going around touching other horses, but like, I think just make a bigger deal on the front end of, hey, be aware of what you're doing, maybe wipe down certain things that we never thought to wipe down. So I think those systems proactively could definitely be tightened up. And then, I mean, this is like the nerd in me from like a business owning perspective and being in business and communication space is how do we effectively and efficiently disseminate accurate information that is needed? Like when you asked, how did you find out if you need bleach or hydrogen peroxide? Literally AI and Googling it. So I feel like that's a real big opportunity to make significant impact quickly and probably without a lot of money being expended.
Very well said. I also think that you have such an interesting perspective, given that you do have a science background
Mhm.
on top of the business ownership of it all. And I just hope that the powers that be learn, right? Like all we
Yeah.
can do is learn and be better.
Yeah.
And if we all try to learn and be better, then we will.
Well, and sadly, I think these things happening closer to home is how some of us get motivated to learn. I was in the camp of, oh, it just happened at this other event last year in a totally different state and discipline. It's not going to happen to us.
That's the first thing I thought about
Yeah.
when this happened is like, you see it online. Like that wouldn't happen at my show. No
No.
way.
And even just learning the science behind it, I didn't know that I think it's like 60 to 80% of horses have the EHV virus lying dormant in them, kind of like a shingles, in older people. And it's the component of stress that will bring it out and have the virus shed and actually turn into disease. So there was a bunch of nerdy science stuff. But, at the end of the day, I feel like we're doing everything that we can. Tomorrow will be day 6. And I think I've read like day 4 to 6 is sort of the most common like incubation period. So, I'm very cautiously optimistic.
I would be. I mean, especially the fact that, your horses weren't right on top of the horse in
Mhm.
question and that you guys started the antiviral
Yeah.
almost immediate. I mean, as soon as you could,
Yeah.
you
100%.
know? So you did the right things. You're following the protocols as prescribed by your
Yeah.
veterinarian and by your team. And
Yeah.
I know
No,
this
I
is
know.
still so fresh and raw for you, but I think it's also a beautiful learning point for your daughter. The show must not go on sometimes.
No. No. Well, and it was funny because Luann texted us about lessons, because these kids normally have at least 2 lessons a week, if not more. and she's got other horses, and we're being very intentional. You can only, okay, so we call the quarantine barn Pony Palace. And and it's also sweet treats because they have to, the medicine tastes so horrible. Apparently, there's like Karo syrup that goes in their feed. And
Yeah.
so they get all their little sweet treats.
They deserve them.
They do. Phoebe is going to be big as a house when she gets on the other side of this.
It's just more go-go juice. It'll be fun.
Right. But when she texted us about lessons, I was like, Luann, literally the last thing on my mind is lessons. So if you want to do them, cool, but don't let this be an added stress. And Chloe was at the barn working yesterday, and Luann was like, do you want to hop on this other horse? And she's like, yeah, but I don't have my boots. They're all in the trailer down at
Still
Pony
in
Palace.
quarantine.
So she just rigged it together with other people's stuff. But yeah, it just puts in perspective what's important.
Yeah.
And again, I always go back to equestrian sports being incredible for these kids because they are lifelong sports. I mean, what if for some reason she couldn't get her second qualifying show in and you didn't go to pony finals this year? It's fine.
It's fine. Like, it sucks.
But it's fine.
And you're going to live and you can try again next year.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. And that's exactly what I was going to say, is that it's not only is it a lifelong sport, but I think it's just such a wealth of character building lessons
Resilience
for young riders, because it's not just them.
Yeah.
It's also this 1,400-pound animal with a mind, body, spirit of its own.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing when it is, and it's real ugly when it isn't.
No, it's wild. Thank you. I appreciate you doing this with me and being so willing to kind of jump in and lead it, because I didn't know what people would want to know, but I think it will be interesting for folks to hear from someone.
A boots on the ground perspective.
Yeah. And like no pretenses, no ego associated with it. Just this is what we went through.
Well, I'm just so glad that everybody, knocking on all the wood, but not really because we're doing a podcast, is okay and healing. Yeah. And I have all the faith that your girls are still going to get to the Pony Cup, because I need to see that video.
I know. Thank you, friend. I appreciate you. That's it for this episode of Broke Horse Moms. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you'd like to follow along, you can join us over on Instagram at Broke Horse Moms and see some of our behind the scenes shenanigans. And if you know another mom who suddenly found herself learning the horse world alongside her kid, please send this episode her way. The more horse moms we have figuring this out together, the better. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, give your rider a hug, if they actually let you, and take a deep breath, Mama. You're doing great. Special thanks to our podcast editor and friend, Steve Woodward, who helps make sense of my rambling episodes and gives you the best audio experience possible. If you're thinking about starting a podcast and want his ears on your project, check him out at podcastingeditor.com.